Ignacio, moderator, Mr. Gerd, Burmester, of course. The stage is yours. Good afternoon. Okay, we've got the hard work of having the last panel. That means that despite we prepared very well, many topics have been already touched. As a weekly forecast now we have to adjust. And what we're going to do is try to touch the 4 topics we have in our agenda. Nevertheless, we are going to ask more critical questions because many diagnoses have already been done, and we are going to ask questions in order to try to solve those things that are still missing without a clear answer, without any solution. We're going to talk about social and economic impact of this industry in our countries. Then we're going to talk about the formation of a regional or worldwide committee of table grape, which main purpose should be promoting consumption, about which a lot has been talking. We're going to talk about logistics optimization and estimations, of course, necessary for the fruit to travel properly and be well marketed. And then we're going to talk about the maturity index, and it is related to how and up to what point we have to reach with grapes and the way it should be sold for arriving to the end consumers in proper conditions. Regarding social impact, this is something in Peru that's been quite relevant within the last few years. There's been a lot of lots of impact that regard the development of the industry. Then I'm going to ask you, Maran, what do you think is the impact on society, social and economic, from the social and economic standpoint of our industry within the last few years? Thank you, Gerd. I was listening to in the previous panel they were talking about sustainability and they were based on volume and market. But volume and market are nothing if there are no people producing grapes. No? In our specific case, we see our customers, our workers, in retails are the ones who buy our grapes. To us, that's different. We try workers to be happy in their daily endeavor. We try to bring them well-being, development. That means zero discussions, generating an environment with zero discussion. It's difficult, it's complicated, and it is costly. Yes, it is indeed. But if you have well measured all your figures, perhaps there is room for improvement. There is room for savings in some places to translate that into people's better lives. And that's inside the company. But if you go out of the company, those people who are workers and you want them to have a very good life, quality of life within the company, during the afternoon they are neighbors, or we can find them on the streets, on the soccer field, on the volleyball field, then are they workers or are they neighbors? They are human beings, they are people. Then the approach is we give is a human approach. We also see people as our customers who are the ones who work with us, and if you go to the packing station, you say, I'm going to come out of here with good money, I'm go out of here well treated, I want to work there, and the same on the fields. Otherwise, people would be working elsewhere. Full stop. In Peru, the competition for labor force is very intensive, and good news. We are the number 2 region in terms of monetary wealth, but one of the most poor in service wealth that should be provided by the state that it is not provided by the government. For us has been vital. And we've seen how the mood of people has changed, how the quality of life of people changes. That definitely, that goes through analyzing how many restrooms do we have on fields per person. After being used, are they clean or are they dirty? Whose responsibility is of workers or companies to keep them clean? Is shared responsibility. This is a system of doing things absolutely or fully differently. Thank you very much. To continue, there are many topics that have arisen. The importance of this panel is to reach a wrap-up. We are going to ask Ram, President of Chair of Frutas de Chile, what conclusions can we reach that there is agreement and which is the commitment by Chile in this new vision together with Peru? We are going to move on. We want to move on with, in the short run, to generate the changes that consistently in every panel have been shown that are necessary. I like to think in Chile and Peru with a comparison between Federer and Nadal, tennis players. Federer and Nadal would have been nothing. They would have been much less if there wasn't one or the other. No, there's no question as the tennis double or tennis duo has been the best in the world ever. And as a duo, I don't think this is casual, and they decided to compete in one lead in fair play, and they decided to support each other. And I think Chile and Peru should do exactly the same. Support each other, competing in fair play and in good leagues. And I think there are two main points that are key where we should work very close together. First is market transparency. This is critical. We've seen along the full day, all the stakeholders require as much as accurate as possible information, as trustful information as possible, and as promptly as possible. The second point, and this is, we've seen the examples. We've just seen the example of avocados from Mexico. We need to promote for real very strongly. Is useless. $500,000 is useless. We've seen the size just before coming to the stage, the size of sales of avocado from Mexico, and the money they put $80 million. In comparison to Chile, just in Chile, avocado from Mexico is a little bit bigger so far than cherries from Chile. They put $8 million. Avocado from Mexico, $80 million on the table. Then we are in a different league. Set-spree, $120 million. It is smaller than Chilean cherries. They sell less. Nevertheless, they put $40 million in China. We put $3.6 million in China. Then we are at a level that we do not exist, we won't exist. And we have to put that in our minds. There's nothing like promotion. It's well proven. Then we have to set up ourselves and we have to say, okay, are we going to play this game for real if we want to face the increase of volumes that are coming? Okay, thank you, Ivan. Definitely, it is important that has been achieved here. No matter it is $300,000 in Peru, we are even behind. Before continuing with the topic, I would like to talk about social impact. There are lots of benefits in both countries in that field. How do we communicate? That's part of the question I would like to put. I don't want to make a mess of the panel, but I would like to thank for the invitation. Just to tell you, this about cooperation between stakeholders. It was created. The another one was created and bringing the Chilean industry. We are still trying to get together. The Chilean industry. I mean, Sector Cadena here. We have to meet together, and we have to gather with you. But this is a message for the industry. Then, I didn't want to stop saying about the social impact of grapes, fruits. Table grape was a champion, a pioneer in Chile in the development of agriculture, and you can see, we mentioned the impact on participation of women. You can see ladies in the panel. There was almost men, and table grape has created a lot of development for women. Housewives, can see many field administrations by women. That is part of the development brought by fruits. We have to highlight this, and at the same time, being involved with Peru, when I have to travel, I've seen progress. And 10, 15 years ago, there was no means. And now there are lots of people well trained, and that's a big progress by you. And I think this is fantastic. I just want to say that I'm going to continue with the thread. Sorry if I change a little bit the topic, but it was important to highlight. Manuel, the same question to Ivan to continue with the conversation. Could you please repeat that? After everything that's being talked, different topics that need the industry have arisen, in particular to work together. What conclusions do we reach, and what's the commitment as leader of the union of things we can start working together in the short and mid terms? Okay, all unions starts from their members. The commitment I am offering is going to do my job. And my job is to call everyone and to everyone to attend, but everyone has to be called. First. Second is try to sustain and persuade those who think differently, that perhaps there are people there, that we have to find them, to then work in persuade them. Okay? There couldn't be a concrete commitment because we're going just to go out to do the job. After having listened to what we've talked about, we're having more clear things, then we are going to put hands on. But we see a powerful future if we do things right together. Definitely it's going to be that way. But I do feel the responsibility is transferred to the other. I haven't listened to anybody that says, I must improve on this. And this business is a business about details. How many growers who are not exporters know how to treat grapes in the production line? How many exporters know the mistakes of the shipping company or the logistics agent? How many logistics agents transmit the challenges in the ports inside the country? If you start breaking down the business in silos, you can tell nobody is assuming the real role, which is solving their own problems. If people working at the supermarket on floors, who are the ones called to do the fruit change, are they doing this more willingly? If they approach a different way, I mean the United States in the retail floors, grapes would move faster. I'm sure about that. Have anybody gone to the till chamber back office? Grapes, carrots, celeries with plastic bottles. And you can see that if you go to small, mid-sized retailers, you see that. Is that grape in good conditions? What's the turnover pace? There are lots of things we don't talk about, and these kinds of forums are useful for that. Thank you, Manuel. Just taking what you said at the beginning regarding cooperation, that you are going to do your job. I'm going to ask Alvaro that for sure at the beginning should have found an important challenge in putting together different members with different opinions. As Manuel said, there are growers who don't think or don't agree in this position of working together. How do you insist, or how did you do for everybody to be in the same page? Well, I cannot say it was me because I came many years later that happened, but I can tell you what happened. And I think it is an advantage that avocados have compared to you, unfortunately. I think the path of yours is going to be more mature and more complex because avocados didn't have any options. The United States decided for us, that's the reality. When they opened the market of avocados from Mexico in 1997, they told Mexico there's no option. Do you have a union and you agree on each other and you will figure out how to do this? And if you fail on having this union, there is no exportation program. And that bound Mexico to create a union. And when they opened the checkoff market for Americans, they said you have to conform an exporters union and you have to do this on force and you have to have a checkoff program. The government decided and ordered other places. We have to give merit to Mexicans, Americans who achieved to set up that union and agree even further to create a company like ours. But the path you have is different because it's a path that you voluntarily, the nice thing about this, the challenge you have behind that, you voluntarily try to do this together. Hopefully you achieved your goals and not to be forced by the American government. Thank you, Alvaro. I would like to come back to that. I would like to ask Sergio, thanks for the participation of Mexico that was invited. Clearly, together today, it's been a lot of talking about Chile and Peru, but the invitation is open. What similitudes can you find with our needs, and how do you see a possible and potential participation by the Mexican industry in this problem? Some like have or joint work program as growers of grapes towards end consumers. First of all, thank you very much for your invitation. In particular, it's an honor being here with all of you. In the case of Mexico, as mentioned by some panelists, we just closed the loop. Although we are in the northern hemisphere and you're in the southern hemisphere, we are going to close a window, close a gap that is being very strong in the United States. And what do we see it's going on? The lack of knowledge about end consumers on what the product is. They know, as was said, they don't know where it is coming from. They don't know whether it is Chilean, Peruvian, or Mexican. But what I can assure is that California puts a lot of emphasis in pointing out that their grapes is Californian grape. I think it is a big opportunity, and I think, first of all, setting up a joint venture to participate. All countries you mentioned, now you mentioned Brazil, South Africa, I think we can all make our contributions regarding this integration. And I agree with Pro Leader. We know it is painful. Mexico also have some opportunity rooms for improvement. We are working in order to achieve that. Variety issues, you are very well advanced. I saw the statistics, 70%, 65%. We are just now, precisely a few minutes ago, we've been working in Mexico with the closure of our season, and we notice we've got 55% of new varieties. Then we are a little bit delayed, but that's because the pace is set by the market we have to target. But these are challenges, the challenges of presenting information, the thing about forecastings, the pain on the neck. I see it is not only from Mexico. I thought we were the only ones with a headache, in particularly the weekly statistics. The reality is that the area we've got production is an area very affected by climate change. We had extremes, hot temperatures in these seasons that caused a serious or unpleasant circumstances, and they affect our forecast. I think the information, the work, as you well said, doing the job, having the job done, knowing what we're doing well and the opportunity areas where we have to focus on. I think the whole industry, let's not call Chile, not Peru, not South Africa, not Brazil, not Mexico. It is the whole industry of table grape. Thank you, Sergio. The rationale is very very sound regarding promoting the consumption of a product and the impact it has. Clearly, if we growth in supply and consumption per capita in the United States keeps constant, the immediate result is drop in prices, which is not convenient for anybody. If this regional committee, including Mexico, Chile, and Peru, and they start to provision grapes, it's going to be beneficial for South Africa and Californians too. You, Sergio, who are closer to the Americans, how possible do you think it is having some sort of collaboration, not even working with a common budget, but coordination for the efforts to be joined and having a more powerful effect on consumers? Last March, we AALPUM Mexico, we have our summit in our season. We've never had the presence of California historically, and we invited them, we were with them, and they joined us. I think now there is a transition that's taking place in the direction, and I think it is a good time for having or getting closer to them and having ideas and presenting to them our concerns. I think it is not time for showing or fulfilling better than the others, seeing ourselves as competitions, something unpleasant towards the industry. I would like to highlight, and this is something I'm seeing with all my growers, it is not Caborca region, it's not the Hermosillo region, it's not Guaymas region, it's not Jalisco region, it's Mexico. And now, after the hierarchy, is grapes. Now, California, they produce grapes, then we have to integrate them. Thank you. I've got a question for Ricardo, then we're going to check about this topic, but I think it is important. It's been talked a lot about of joined together. We've talked about production, importers, consumers, and we've touched very briefly logistics, which is key, of course. What opportunities do you see that could be created working together? What logistic challenges do we face in the industry? What lessons learned? What other benchmarks? For instance, Chile has good experiences with cherries. They did something was talked about the traffic to Asia. What's your reflection about the logistics contribution challenges that must be put on the table that perhaps have not dived into deeper today? Well, I think from the logistics standpoint, shipping companies and specifically we as frigorific ships, vessels, we've got the ability to adapt to the needs the different trades have. We believe and we feel part of the logistics chain of fruits, but we have a lot to go along with you. For us, it's vital ships to operate quick, to ports to be efficient, not to have bottlenecks. And the key, the common denominator we've talked about the whole day is planning and estimations and forecasting. Unfortunately, we don't have good figures when we don't have good data that stop us from the possibility of adapting the service to the needs of the season. I think that's one of the big challenges ahead. Ships. There are ships today, more modern vessels, faster vessels with higher capacities. We ourselves are building vessels with their storehouses, with bridges, with vacuum bridge height. Then we can't collaborate a lot, but to that we need good feedback from the industry. And I think as a group that there is work together, team working with full transparency of the information, I think it is key. Go ahead, Manuel, please. Just to compliment, I fully agree, but I would like to assume the accountability from the growers' side. The advantage we've got in Peru that it's fully integrated in the whole chain, being growers, packers, and exporters. As growers, if anything happens to us, weather conditions, but if we're based on weather, it means we will never be organized to properly pack in the less time possible for the fruit to not to dehydrate. Then, how can you tell there's no planning? There is planning. Otherwise, that fruit today wouldn't be on its destination. I think what's missing is communication or confidence to open or trust to open your information to the others. Perhaps there are fears, or perhaps there is a secret formula that is in existence, but I believe I have it. Let's reflect on those things. We, in the previous campaign, or the previous to the previous campaign, our peak was 115,000 boxes packed in one day. If we weren't prepared, we couldn't do it. For sure, there is planning, and it just starts from fields, and it starts from supply of the different resources. If you don't have the cartons, how do you know how to pack in the night? I think what is missing is openness, and we have to trust each other. Thank you. Ricardo, what does Peru need to be part of the circuit of storehouse vessels that been working for many years in Chile? Actually, the challenge is the famous port treatment. To ship must be done in Sur in order to have days for port treatment. We've assessed that. Last year we were very close to do something. Actually, then the Panama Canal problem came, all the restrictions there, and we stopped a little bit the decision-making process. But I think we must plan that. It is a matter of planning and doing that. There are no technical inconvenience in this moment. We reviewed the protocols with FENASA. They are in place. Perhaps a little bit of experience course is missing in terms of the port scope, but we can learn about that. It is a matter of time. Good. Rafael, you talked a lot about varieties. You mentioned the amount of varieties. Imported supermarkets were very clear. We need a continuous product that consumers know that fulfill the expectations of a even product. How do you see from the cows or excess of variety standpoint? Can we work in that sense from this panel across the industry? Well used the term chaos. The, with a lot of pressures, they were coming to the plants, the commercials. There was a desperate, and you blame greenhouse geneticists, but actually it's responsibility of all of us many times. We've discussed a lot. Hopefully, instead of 150, where we were talking, these are not 150 areas. This is more or less one half. It is having two names with the other names. The list is huge. Hopefully, we cut them with our hands, at least the ones that were well handled. We have to define those varieties and we have to work on those varieties. They said the production areas and ecozone is different. It's not the same Copipeon, Conchagua, and in Chile, and I wonder why is not the same than in Hermosillo. That's outstanding work. Also the combinations, because remember, apart from the varieties, we have injured. A few that were very easy to propagate and they were not planted. That's another disaster, and that's another thing we're organizing. The first dose variety, we know that would be 3 or 4 in black, in red are 2 or 3. In black, I don't know, whatever, but let's handle those varieties in their ecozones with their injured in everywhere. If I may, I jump to the maturity indexes. It's another very important topic. Catalogs were coming with a maturity index, the ripening index, and after 2 days the fruit was already eaten, and they bound us to use it here. We also have a gray zone that is done according to the imagination of everyone. They in Peru they do not crop autumn grape, and hopefully we don't. If we were expecting certain variety, it was lost. We have understanding work we have to do with genetic programs. We have to do with retailers, supermarkets, and it's being done. You don't want infant sugar. It could be a campaign against which is not healthy for children eating that much sugar, but it's required for a flavor experience, but in particular that having a fruit in good condition. What drives the market, the part of promotion and the advertisements, is having an attractive, nice fruit, good consumption experience. And what that happened today, because Hillary always the offer was behind the demand and the fruit move quickly. In the case of Chile, it's important to move quickly. There's an approach we are celebrating not because the grape is going to be sweeter with system approach, not because it's going to be bigger, but because it is going to be fresher on shelves. That's that we have to persuade, we have to pursue a big challenge, and it is not part of just because we did a good job. Well, there's another job there, since we've got technicians in Peru that have helped us to do the chill houses, packings. They are very valuable people who have worked there. We also have good facilities here, but there's still job to do. We have to renew our facilities, as Formula One cars are changed their tires in 1 second, and they used to do that in 2 minutes. We also have to improve that part in order to reach with fresh fruit. Fresh fruit will be always better sold than ripened fruit. Rafael, who do you think must be responsible, what entity, of establishing and defining those ripening indexes for each variety in each reality of production? Well, I think in every country, here is Provid, here is Fruta, is Sorex, it is us. We can work with genetic programs and exporting. They have huge technical teams, and we can move on that. We can make commissions, we can organize, and we can work on those indices in order to have a product. It's not about having green fruit, and I cannot pretend having CO5 acidity and it's going to have 30 days traveling. It's impossible. If the fruit has no acidity, it cannot reach. The best advisor is a customer coming here and they eat it. That's the best uh, advisor. That's the work we must do, and I think it could be organized. And on top of that, there are Chilean technicians in Peru. It's going to be important, and we will have standards for every ecozone.
Going back to the past topic, Iván, we mentioned California. What is this idea of doing a worldwide committee? What other topics should be worked? And why we have to involve California? We know that Chile and California doesn't have like the best relationship, but how do you see the project that we can do, and what role can Frutas de Chile and California have in this potential group? Well, the people from CESPRI has a very interesting study that says that every time a consumer tries or has a bad experience with a kiwi, it takes him around 7 months to buy another kiwi. And that happens the same with the Californian grape or Chilean grape, with any origin grape, actually. And that's the reason why we should be we should all agree on some parameters. I think that is the biggest challenge. How do we unite as origins? But we always need to think about what is not working and says that this doesn't work without the money. For example, I don't believe in innovation without money. I don't believe in the the small folks who compete with the big breeders worldwide. Breeders are rich and they invest a lot of money. And to invest more money and to grow the consumption, we need money. We need to promote. We made Frutas de Chile in 2019. We made a big study that it was called Chile 2030, and it was how we saw the future of the fruit by that time, and how we were closing the narrow lines between the countries. That study showed us that us as Frutas de Chile, if we could close that lines of prices with New Zealand and Australia, we were going to go from $6,000 million to $10,000 million. Just closing that gap between Australia and New Zealand. But Peru in that study appears just a bit about high on price than Chile. So we need to close that gap. What do we need for that? We need to do good promotions for this. I think that most of us agree that a committee that it's going to promote the consumption of grapes is going to be beneficial. I remember that the event in South Africa, we didn't talk about this, but we can talk about it now. Which, and I will leave the question open, which needs to be the first step that we need to give after this reunion or this meeting, so the next time we are together, we are talking about the results of this first step. Well, we need to put some common objectives, common goals. One good objective that we put with Frutas de Chile was make this investigation. We made a meeting with Eve and how to make these estimations. But I said, well, we need to reverse engineering, because this thing that you did was amazing. But that is the information that some people give you. So in the reverse engineering, we skip everything that is happening. We skip who is being run with volumes, and it will be good to put more people on this investigation, on this report, to see the results. When we write these topics, it came out really fast. We're talking about varieties, how ripe the fruits are. So if we can put together a lot of countries for this report to show information, because, for example, in Chile, you show the hectares, right? For example, Manuel, you show the hectares. And I can show you the hectares, you know? I give you the information, but please don't publish it. We don't know how much they have planted, how useful it is for someone to have this variety, and you see that we have problems in the zone because we don't have that much hectares as we used to. So if we unite, we realize that we're working here, for example, with Frutas de Chile on the hectares, seeing varieties, hectares, volumes per week. It's a big resource to take better decisions. Well, yeah, just adding to that, I think that we need to clarify that it's not only a job from Provid, but also alongside with Senasa. We cannot export a container of fruit if it doesn't have a certificate of origin. That's how we have the inventory of hectares. If you want to export, tell me what that is. And they have they monitor everything, so they know the volumes and where they come from. On the other side, we try to be as efficient as possible to give the information to the shipping companies, talking about containers, obviously. But once that is exported, we have a delay of 2 or 3 weeks to know where that fruit is at the moment. That is a proposal that the shipping companies can come together and declare, once that is shipped, the name of the ship and how much fruit is on that ship. That way we don't have a delay of 3 weeks to take wrong decisions, but just the next day we know that, okay, I don't have to send fruit to this destiny because it has a saturation. So the shipping companies can help us with a platform maybe that is common and open for everyone, and it can counter back to us, you know, but it's good too. Yeah, going to your question, the first step, I think that we don't have to give the questions as guarantee. If you take another kind of fruit, they don't have this kind of events. And as first step, we should project this out in other countries. I think that it's something we should start organizing now. And second step, it's to do a promotional event alongside with Chile and Peru in the next season. So we do our reception with importers in Philly. The month of March, we can see the day, the characteristics, and we should do a promotional event, we together as the first step and as a result of this convention. Well, yeah, what's the goal of that event? Well, I think the goals of the promotional events are those that we have talking here. To give information, there is some sort of transparency between the parts, to join together with the stakeholders and with importers and retailers, maybe the logistics operators. But it has another effect that we value a lot, and it's the fact of joining together along the season and that helps to create some sort of communicative movement, and that has a cost. We are, I'm going to say this as an example, but the other fruits in Chile, as Peru, should follow the example of cherries. As for the season of cherry that it's in January, we as Frutas de Chile go to China, and we measure, because many people ask me why do I go? Well, when we go to China, we generate around $600,000 and 400,000 just with press conference. That is a lot. Yeah, I think the question is really important if we analyze it. I think this event is something that should be done. Take another event and put Mexico in there and Brazil too. And to say that, okay, we are going to walk together with this, and maybe have this event is going to be something really important for the season. And the important thing is to go and get to this goal that we want. Now, the question I'm going to do to Alvaro, it's an example, a good example that it maybe is too good to be true. And Alvaro says that some of the things they say it's not possible. They have a voluntary percentage. And Alvaro, you looking from outside our industry, how do we convince people that this is not an expense? This is not something that is going to come from our pockets. So how can you help us with this big problem that is to start the machine and believe the impact that a promotion can have? Well, yeah. I want to go to something that I think it's something that is important. And if you are really going to work together, you have to give a more firm step, so that it's that joint together it's believable. I don't know, maybe form a document, an organization, something that can tell to the market of USA, now we are working together. That it's going to be a good news maybe. And that is going to give another perspective to the retailer, to USA, to the other participants on the market. That is something you should give a thought, so that that step is more formal. Now, the other big and important point is the marketing. Marketing is really important, something that we create and it's going to work, but we need to be patient to make it work. If what we think is that we're not going to put $300,000, we're going to put $1 million, it's not going to work, because you need to reactivate the market and make a much different situation than the one we have, for example, in avocado. We made a lot to grow the category, but it's a mature category. And it's very stable. And reactivate it is not easy. Because, like I said in my presentation, it's a big paradigm that we have in the industry. We make a lot of good things, but when we're pretending, in that part we are amazing. We have everything when it comes to that. But when we put it in the supermarkets, when it's real, we are very bad at that. We give the power to the consumer to do whatever they want, and that when it comes the decrease of prices. So we need to believe that in that other world there is an opportunity, but that opportunity is something that we need to build. I will say don't risk that much, but take a good step, a firm step, so you can show the market that you're working together. Prove just one zone, prove a promotion, prove some months, and you can see the results. And I mean, don't do a big investment in this because it can be dangerous. It may not work. Sergio, do you wanted to say something? Yeah. I think we also have to see the inventory things. That way we can see how this entity can help beyond marketing. We need to know in inventories how much grapes are being exported, how much are coming. It's something that we as Mexico see, and when we had the necessity to know how grape was flowing and going around, and that is another of the works that this commission needs to work alongside with the formation. Yeah, talking about that, because I heard you talking about this before. You say, okay, we have 2 weeks of shipping, and we need to start thinking what we're going to do with the product. At the end of July, have all the promotions of October and November done and ready and sold, 100%. If I don't work 4 or 6 months ahead of me, I'm going to fail. If the product is already on its way, you need to do it as fast as possible. You need to think months ahead and inform months ahead. And you have to inform the market so you will have all the inventories. At least in the market of USA, it works like that. Now, I just wanted to say that we can assume that we are going to make a joint event in the market where we will have the representatives of the countries. And in that same event, we can sign a document that shows the beginning of this collaboration. I don't know if you think that's correct. Do we agree? Mexico is going to be a part of it, right? Yeah, sure. In October, we will have a task, know what we have to do in our own organizations, and take the information that it's concrete. For example, exportation or what we can improve. I think that it needs to be a homework so we can take to this next event. I think most of us are going to be there. And we can talk about the advances that internally we did with this topic. Well, I think it's a good agreement. We are going to do the next meeting in IFPA, put the tasks on the table, and to keep moving forward. Manuel, you wanted to say something? No? Okay, excellent. I think that it's a good agreement. We're going to note all those points, inventories, start talking about the worldwide committee. We have an event, the stocks in the market. Yeah, we have a lot of topics to advance. Something important that we had just made, we have Mexico. We're going to invite Brazil too for this meeting in IFPA. And I think that to close the panel, I think I'm going to give you a minute to all of you to make a short reflection on the event so we can finish. Okay, Iván? Well, very brief. Everything that we talked today, I think that with no exceptions, doesn't work without the most important thing, and that is a good quality grape. That is the biggest thing in here. Here the product is what rules. The consumer doesn't accept anything but perfect quality, so we need to work on that as the most important thing. Well, I'm not gonna take much of the time, but I wish you the best. And I think you are good there. You're going in a good path. You can make the market grow if you think from the consumer point. create your brand in the marketing? Well, we just want to say that we can have your back. We're going to do our best effort to get to that best quality fruit. Well, thank you to the organization, to this convention. We are very happy to be here and to participate. If we have to put some more money on this, well, just think about everyone that has to put money on this. And I think that we have a lot of common goals, and we have a good familiarity here among Chile and Mexico and Peru. Yeah, just adding to the quality and the condition. That's what we need. And putting the quality and the condition together, we have to fix good expectations. We could ask something that we couldn't produce in any place, you know? So we need to understand what we can expect from Chile or from Peru, you know? Every region has its own challenges. So when we standardize something, we need to put a range, not an exact number. Well, again, thank you for the invitation. As a final thought, I can say that we need to make a precise shot on this. And it could sound cliche, but I think we need to unite ourselves to be stronger. Yeah, I just want to add a conversation that I made with a grower. He said, "Okay, I'm on this, but I need data." And today we saw a lot of data of how good this job can be if we are joined together and not competing. I love that we have this agreement, that we have firm steps to move forward. So luckily, and with a bit of effort, we can do something close to what Avocados from Mexico did. Well, thank you so much to everyone and Jensen for this convention. Sorry.